Top stories on Breakingviews this morning. JP Morgan, of course, they say at last receives its comeuppance. One of the few banks that sidestepped the crisis has been proven fallible. Will this shake confidence in the system? And the private equity bubble hangover yields an HR headache. With me now is Reuters Breakingviews assistant editor Peter Tal Larsen. I'm sure you've been doing a lot of thinking about Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan. The Dimonfreude, a take on the Schadenfreude that you talk about, is irresistible. But the whole industry needs to worry, you're saying?
Well, I think various people need to worry, actually. But it's a natural inclination to take pleasure from this. Jamie Dimon has been a very kind of sort of confident, cocky, some might even say arrogant, in terms of his approach towards the industry, towards the outside world, his public attacks on regulators and politicians, and so for the self-professed best bank, biggest bank, etc., to come a cropper, naturally everybody says, "Oh well, look, this is great." But I mean, coming down to it, I think first of all, if you're a rival of JP Morgan's, you should take no pleasure from this at all, because they're going to
revel in it for a while, but then they need to move on.
But they really shouldn't, because actually, if JP Morgan is widely believed to be the best at risk management, or definitely up there with risk management, if they can't control this kind of stuff, then we have no confidence that anybody else can do so. And you can see that in the bank shares of other European banks today; they're all off because people think. Actually, we can't really believe what you guys are doing. And then of course, the wider regulator issue gives them renewed. And the regulators will say, "Aha! You see, this is the kind of thing we need to push back on the industry and say, even the great Jamie Dimon can't get this stuff under control. We need to crack down on risk management and the kind of models that banks are using. That's already underway, and this will give them a push on that. We need a renewed drive on making sure that big banks are not too big to fail and that they can be resolved if they get into trouble. But if you're a regulator, you should also just take a little pause and say, JP Morgan is a regulated entity. Yep. These positions were disclosed. Right. Presumably regulators had some handle in kind of monitoring, and it's been written about in the press for a couple of months now. Presumably regulators had some handle in monitoring this as well.
So regulators should have egg on their face as well, to a degree.
And more broadly then, as far as the financial system is concerned, as far as the wider world is concerned, we do need to worry if even supposedly well-run, big, properly managed banks like this get into trouble like this, then that will undermine broader confidence in the financial system.
Very quickly, final word on this. What happens now?
Well, I think there's a couple of questions. I mean, I think there's a question about what happens at JP Morgan.
Management changes?
Who knows? I mean, but you have to assume that somebody will have to take responsibility for this. UBS, the chief executive lost his job. That was an unauthorized trade. This was authorized. So, and it's the same kind of scale. So you have to assume there's going to be some kind of repercussions there. But more broadly also, I think you've got to prepare for another shift in the way that the industry is regulated and monitored.
Okay, very quickly, Guy Hans, private equity chief, terra firma, he's paying staff bonuses from his own pot.
From his own pocket, yeah.
From his own pocket. That's basically to hang on to them, right?
Yeah, I mean, we know about the flaws in the private equity business model, but this is another flaw in the private equity business model, which is that you set up a fund, you charge your investors a set of fees and some carry, and then you employ people on the basis that if we do well, you will share in the profits of this fund. Yep. That's fine until, like Guy Hans, you have a great big stinker in the form of EMI, which basically takes your fund underwater. At that point, your staff say, well, we're never going to make any money out of this fund, because even if we do really well on everything else, we'll never make back all the losses that we made on EMI. And the worry then, of course, is that Guy Hans thinks we're in a great position to be making new investment. That's his view. Yeah. But if he loses all his people, he won't be able to do it. So these guys, they were supposed to be sharing the upside and the downside of the fund, but it turns out they only share the upside, and if there's downside, they get paid anyway.
All right, Peter, a busy day ahead for you, I'm sure. Many thanks, Peter Tal Larsen. If you want to watch our US Breakingviews show, that comes on every day, 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 BST. It's on demand, of course, on all the Reuters platforms. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.